Welcome to the AI for Interior Designers podcast, where creativity meets cutting edge technology. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of artificial intelligence and explore how it's revolutionizing the interior design industry. From AI-powered design tools to the latest trends and innovations, we've got you covered. So plug in, relax, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Welcome to AI for Interior Designers podcast. P.S. This intro was written by and voiced by AI to sound like your host, Jenna Gaidusek.
Hey designers, welcome back for episode 53 of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. I'm your host, Jenna Gaidusek, and today I'm joined by a guest. Julia Reinert is my guest today, and also somebody that I have personally started working with this year. So she is just an incredible person, but brings a really interesting perspective from more of like a non-techie, I'm just getting started with AI, and kind of seeing how our worlds collide and how she's navigating, not only AI and the tools, but coming from her, perspective and her background and what she does for the interior design industry, just her different use cases and how she has overcome her, I don't want to say fear, but resistance to using AI, and how she is slowly like approaching it and starting to add it to her life and where and when that makes sense. So this conversation is awesome, I think. I got a lot of perspective from this conversation. So I do truly hope that you enjoy it too, and that it makes you think a little bit, especially if you're just starting out with AI and feeling overwhelmed, or if you have no plans on using AI, the reality of what that potentially looks like. We discussed that today as well. So here we go. Let's get started. Hey, Julia. Thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Jenna, thank you for having me.
It's a long time coming. We've been talking about it for a while. So before we get started, I feel like, we should just give a brief introduction as to like how we've met, how we know each other. And we do actually work together. So you're the first person that I've interviewed for the podcast that is, I would say, a team member of mine.
Aw.
So I think it's also a cool perspective that we're going to talk about today, because you are not really a tech person, right? Like,
Not at all.
not at all. So it's
People who are
interesting.
watching this that know me are like, why is she on your podcast?
Yeah, because we all have our areas of expertise, and the marketing stuff is in events is what I needed your help with. And so that's why we teamed up. But you came from, what's your background? Why don't you tell us what your background is?
So I was a history major, which is very
Okay.
interesting. But then I went into marketing for home builders for about 17 years. And then I moved into working for digital agencies here in Raleigh. And so I was all of a sudden working for all these different clients in different industries. And it was great. And I realized I loved that and took off really that I have a passion for brand management and storytelling and helping my clients. How do they tell their story? And what tools do they do? Is event planning make sense for them? Is it grassroots marketing, digital marketing? And then, of course, all of that has changed in the last, several years with AI and the tools and opportunities that it presents. And then about 3 years ago, I started working for a PR firm that is heavily invested in the furniture manufacturing and interior design world. And I loved it. It was great. I learned so much and met so many great people. And then due to February of this year, I decided that I wanted to make my passion project, which is the lifestyle historian, become my full-time focus. So I had started an Instagram 3 years ago that was just fun. It was telling the history behind objects, things that we may have in our home, things that we may never have heard of before. And people really love it. And I love the storytelling aspect of it. And so fast forward 3 years later, I was like, okay, I'm going to merge this love of history and storytelling with my marketing experience and my connections in the industry. And now I'm actually branching off into other industries, which is fantastic. And that's where we are now. And then, yeah, you and I met, was it at Art Conference?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We
in
had
New Orleans.
talked before.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Briefly. And then we had dinner together. And I was
did,
there for less than 24 hours.
Yes, it was great. Obviously with my husband, Darren, kind of, he was delving into the AI world, and I had heard about you and I was like, oh, you and him have to like, talk and
Mhm.
collaborate and all of that. And the panel was great at our conference. And then yeah, so I knew that when I started my own company, I was like, I want to work with Jenna. And here we are.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad you reached out because I need help all the time, and it's hard to, like, figure out what I can offload. Just like I think a lot of designers and a lot of business owners, it's like and we go through this now, we've started collaborating, I don't know, a couple months ago, and how long? We started in February, so I guess in February, but
Hmm.
it like, we just kind of it's an evolution. It's like, "Here's my skills and here's my direction, how can you support me with your skills in storytelling and marketing and all the knowledge?" So, it's just been really fun to partner with you and have your different background and expertise. And
Thank
that's
you.
kind of what we're gonna talk about today, right? How
Yeah,
these merge.
there is, and this is something that, it's a challenge, but it doesn't have to be. And what that is that, everybody is so, oh my gosh, what is AI doing? And it's totally understandable why there would be apprehension. It's totally understandable why there's kind of this just like either if you want to call it fear or hesitancy on what AI does and can do. And there's so much to unpack there. But I think that one of the things that I am realizing is that AI is not going to do all of the work for me. And that was my fear. My fear was I want to still use my creative side and I still want to be able to like, lay things out on paper, like my lists, right? And AI doesn't mean I have to stop doing those things, but AI allows me, it gives me the opportunities to say, you know what, I really, really need to like expedite this project just a little bit more. And so I have to become a master prompter, right? I have
Mhm,
to become like, and I can't do that if I don't have the experience that I have.
mhm,
One of the things that I was talking to is an intern that I have, he asked me some questions on AI. And I said, look, if you don't have the experience, if you don't know the questions to ask AI, whether it's ChatGPT or if it's another platform or tool that you're using, then all you can do is just regurgitate. Like you could say, "Hey, I'm working on this project." It will give you something.
mhm,
And then you can take that and then you can repackage it and send it off to a client. It's not going to be good. It's
mhm.
not, you're going to miss things. So experience is necessary to say, hey, I like that, but there's this whole thing that we are not capitalizing on or leveraging. ChatGPT is not going to know that.
Yeah. Yep. So being an expert in your space is what you're saying here, where basically you have to know what you're talking about in order to use AI tools because, first of all, they're wrong a lot and they will not give you the level of output that you're looking for, in the level of detail if you don't give it the context and if you don't, ask the right questions when you're prompting and all of that, right? That's what you're finding?
Absolutely. There is no difference. That correlation, like having an intern, there's no difference between having an intern who you give direction to and having like ChatGPT who you give direction to, right? If you are not experienced, if you're not detailed, you get what you put into it. So, and that's one of the frustrating things too that I'm finding is people are like anti AI.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, wait a second. You pay an intern. You say, hey, I have this project. I want you to go do the research and come back to me with your findings. It's the same thing. So, yeah,
Exactly, but, like, you have to train an intern, just like you have to train your
exactly.
AI models, and they can actually be trained on the same materials. Like,
Yes.
literally the same documents is how you would train them. It's and even, like, one of my assistants, I give him GPTs that I build for, like, my brand voice, and then I give him instructions, and I say, "Okay, here's the blog. I need you to take the transcript and use this GPT and have it rewrite in the brand voice just a summary." So, yes, all of my summaries on AI for Interior Designers podcast, they're all AI generated. I'm not gonna claim that I wrote any of that, but
Right.
that's part of our process, and it hasn't taken away from my intern's job. It has enhanced his ability to do it in a way that I want it done.
Absolutely. The other thing too is like what we were just talking about is we're sitting here saying, I had to do this, I had to do that. There's this misconception that all of a sudden, like no time is spent, right? Like that we just speak it into existence, the
Mhm.
work is done, and that it's cheating because we're not really working. And that is so far from the truth. If you're doing it the right way, then you are investing still so much time. What it's doing is it's really and truly just allowing you to have more creative control
Mhm.
because you're not worried about some of the minute details, right? Like you know that the grammar is going to be correct and the punctuation and all of that stuff. And it does some of the research for you. There's again no difference than using a different resource. So yeah, those are the misconceptions that I want people to understand when it comes to AI, that you're still working hard, you're still using your brain, but it allows you to do more too.
Yeah, and I mean, to piggyback on that, I have been working on a program. I will tell you guys about it later. But basically, I'm revamping my offerings with one-on-one and taking into consideration, the past year and a half of teaching this and how I can best accommodate the needs of people that come seek, one-on-one services with me. So I'm developing a structured program based off of like all the trainings that I've done, and I do a lot of trainings every single week. I don't think
Mhm.
people realize that. Like, I do a lot of one-on-ones with designers, firms, groups, organizations. Like, if you don't see me for a while, it's probably because my schedule is back to back with meetings, like it has been this week and next week. So I'm developing and fleshing that out. What I did, my desk is, if you could see it, it's covered in expo marker, like writing. So I'm constantly just writing all over my desk. So the other day I was like, all right, here's the 6 steps. Here's what I want to accomplish. It was just words. Okay. So I took a picture of what I wrote on my desk. I put it into ChatGPT. I also put it into Gemini and Perplexity because I like to nerd out about who's going to have the best reply across all the different models. And I said, I'm revamping my mentorship program, my AI advisory program. Here is the 6 steps that I want to include in the development of this. Take it from here. And because I started with that, it helped me to define, where it's like, here's a good cohesive flow. Here's the details. Here's how this step would work out. If you get to this step, here's the questions that should be answered before, and it'll give me like the Q&As that I need to add as a
Mhm.
form, for each step of the process. This has elevated and expedited the amount of time that developing this program would take. I'm
Mhm.
3 weeks in to development of this. Okay? Like, this is not something that's very quick. Like, I develop, I write, I do my own writing and speaking into my AI models. I'm tweaking, and then I go through with literally just like my human touch and rewrite everything that I have actually extracted and liked, right? So then it becomes like a hybrid version of AI and me, but mostly me. And then you have to execute it. That's just the planning. None of this is different than how we've always planned everything previously, except for we can do it faster and with more insights that we never considered,
Absolutely,
right?
100%. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. It's something that has been, as I talk to people, and again, those who know me know my tech challenges, and it has been quite a comical, just like, source of conversation that Julia is using AI, or wow, you know what that means, or whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, I'm actually really getting into this. And because someone said something the other day, it's not that, AI is gonna, something, and I don't remember the exact phrase, but the gist of the saying was not that AI is gonna take all of the jobs. However, if you haven't embraced AI, that's when you should be worried.
Yeah.
Is not, you know what I'm saying? You're going to have job. There's plenty of opportunities out there, but know what you're doing. It's with any technology over history that has come up. If you don't learn it, you're going to be left behind.
Yep, and
Very
the
simple.
entry level jobs are gonna be the first ones to go. The ones that are monotonous and, just like what you were saying about history. When we had, machines come in and replace the human jobs, the repetitious things, it's the same thing. It's just now digital. So those jobs are gonna be the first ones, and they already are being eliminated because now AI can do it. Is it perfect? By all means, no. But is it gonna save a business owner a lot of money and worth the risk? Yeah, and they're gonna do it,
And the
right?
fear was there in the 80s and 90s that,
Mhm.
when Apple and IBM and all of these different computer companies, when they, started coming out with, better computers and better ways of doing things, people were terrified. No one's going to have jobs. And we're still here. We're still here. But yes, absolutely.
Yep. So let's kind of talk about like when these jobs are gone, because they will, and the pivot in which is like everything is being forced because we are now all in this digital space and just in our business in general being forced kind of into this direction that's always been there but ignored, and that is storytelling. So bringing the online to real life and telling the story and vice versa too, but telling the story that connects on a human level because we're already so saturated on social media and in emails with AI content. And it's just junk, right? Like I'm over it. I don't enjoy being on social media for many reasons, but a lot of it is because it's all AI crap. And I want that human connection. So I personally see a lot of things being brought back into the real world with physical human interaction in the future once people start
Mhm.
to see the burnout from all this, but also understand like where it is a tool and then where it is not a tool. So, with all of that being said, storytelling has never been more critical and crucial for business owners than it is right now, like putting your face behind it, right? So, are you seeing that? Is that something that you've also noticed or just me?
Yeah, no, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. The evolution of it started before we even started talking about storytelling, right? It was just
Mhm.
branding. And that has been, if you look at the evolution of that and where it came really since the beginning of, and it goes back to the history of something, which I love, it just kind of proves my point. There's a history behind everything. But if you look at the history of advertising and marketing and how the story was told, they didn't know that's what they were doing then. They were really just like, I have a product, I need to sell it. How do I do that? But the really cool thing is if you look like in the 1920s and the 90s and you look at advertisements, especially like in publications, it was like a whole book. I mean, it was telling the story of this woman who got up in her routine during the day and she used Dove or Palmolive or,
Mhm.
whatever the brand was. And like you read, it was seriously like this little mini book. And that was the ad. And then you fast forward, and then what happens is it became more visual. And it was really more about telling the story through an image. And so now what we have found is because there really is this like, if it's that attention span deficit,
Mhm.
people don't want to read as much, but at the same time, words are still powerful and words are still, important and they need to be purposeful. And so it's a merge now. I think it's a culmination of the two. And so you want the amazing visual that grabs your attention, that pulls at those heartstrings, but you need the words that also say, like, there's an impact there. And so the way that
Human impact.
a human impact, and I am so with you on this, like AI generated image, all of those things, like it's very frustrating because you can kind of tell if something is AI generated, but it's going to keep getting better and better to the point of where you really don't know. And let's be honest, some of those images and they're creepy. Like some of them like really
Yeah.
just weird and like, oh,
Yeah.
why are they doing this? And so that brings the question of, when it comes to storytelling, authenticity, right? And if you're not telling your story authentically, why are you telling it? Like, why, it's false advertising, and then you're not really resonating with your target audience. You're throwing something out there that they will eventually find out that it's not real, it's not true, it's not what they're looking for. So, to say all of that, to say that yes, storytelling is more important than it's ever been. First of all, the competition is so fierce. You are competing no matter if you're an interior designer, if you are a brand manufacturer, no matter what you're doing in this industry or another one, your story is what is going to set you apart from your competition. And it doesn't matter, like if you're a startup, you still have a story. It's okay if you're competing against somebody who has a 100-year-old story. That's okay. You can talk about your innovation, you can talk about scrappiness, you can talk about whatever it is that's going to set you apart. Maybe you're not talking about legacy and you're not talking about generations of family members passing this thing down, but that's okay because not everybody cares about that. So find your target audience, tell your story authentically, use AI when it makes sense, where it makes sense, and how it makes sense. And the other thing is don't let AI completely dictate, like you said, add your human element to it. Just because AI tells you something doesn't make it true. It doesn't make it good. It doesn't make it real, right? It can spit something out and you look at it and it's got all these fancy words and you're like, oh, the work is done. You have just started. like you're not there. You're not there.
Yeah, when you actually read it, you're like, oh, that's not what I wanted to say, or that's like a spin on the interpretation that's not right. So yes,
One of
absolutely.
the things I have found with AI is that it gives you like higher level, like it doesn't always give you substance, right? So it's got these great words, that so for example, when I'm doing all of the research for my social media and I think of a topic or an object or something that I want to approach, I do use AI to help me with the research because who has the time to dig,
Right.
through hundreds or thousands of years of data? But then I have to put my spin and I need to write the caption. But I've noticed when I first started that the prompts I was giving it, it was spitting back. It was saying the same thing. It was like, this object has a rich history that dates back thousands of years.
Mhm.
And then it was fluff, what I call marketing fluff. There was nothing, nobody was learning anything from that.
Mhm.
There was no new insights, revelations. There was no fun facts. I had to talk it through and say, I want more. And then pick on something and say, ooh, can we explore this sentence right here? Let's go down this rabbit hole. That's what
Mhm.
my readers and my viewers on social media want, is for me to go down a rabbit hole. ChatGPT is not going to do that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially free versions of AI. Like that is the most basic level that
Yeah.
you're going to get, right?
Yes.
The more you use it, if you pay for it, it gets to know you, like, and your topics and all of those things. So okay, where am I going to go with this? Sorry, so many thoughts that I'm just like, so many directions we can take this. But having that conversation, that's what this is all about. Like I've said this before, we do not Google things anymore, like not in the way that we used to. It's not, unless if you need an address or a review on something. We do not do the Google anymore. We have conversations with the AI model to learn more. And then it gives us source information. So it gives us blogs that haven't paid to be at the top of a Google search, but
Yes.
are relevant to that specific question that is deep in that conversation that you need to learn more about. And I told you about Perplexity the other day for your research. Deep research, personally, right now, Google Gemini for deep research has been my favorite. You can also do it in ChatGPT. It's still pretty good, but for some reason, I'm on this Google Gemini kick. I'm getting great results with the deep research, and it thinks for like 8 minutes, and then it goes find sources, and then it gives intelligent answers. But you've heard this a million times. Like it's only as good as the information that you're giving it and the questions that you're asking to continue the conversation. You don't give it context, it will make it up. And that's not what anybody wants.
Absolutely. So this is what you and I were talking about earlier, actually. When you talk about like, so for example, ChatGPT, it took me a year, and I know this is so bad. It took me a year to get comfortable, not because I couldn't do it, right? But because I've got all of these layers of the fear and the hesitancy that we mentioned. And I'm like, oh my gosh, is this like, is this a bad thing? Is this okay to be doing this? And then there was, am I going to like, will clients think that I think that's a fear right now that a lot of people in marketing have, is that they're worried, will my clients think that I'm using ChatGPT for everything and that I'm not bringing anything to the table? That's a huge, huge fear. But then when you talk about these other programs, which I'm very excited, like I've got it on my to-do list to look into Perplexity. I need to do an upgraded, like, ChatGPT. I need to go ahead and just pay the $20 a month or whatever it is. And then the other one that we had talked about earlier today, which, Gemini Pro, and becoming really comfortable with those. So I'm going to be totally vulnerable and I'm just going to throw this out there. It terrifies me to learn some of these new technology resources. Why is that? I mean, there's a lot of reasons. And one is definitely like, oh my gosh, how much time am I going to invest in learning these? Like, yes, it's going to save me time eventually. But I get nervous about that. I get using it right. Am I being ethical? Which is a whole, I mean, oh my gosh, we could spend forever talking about ethics. So I want people to understand, like, these are totally valid.
Yes, very much.
It's okay to feel this way. And it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to even just put the brakes on. Like, you have to be comfortable with this. Practice it in your personal life. Like that's something that before you go maybe and include it in your professional endeavors, maybe just use it to say, and I don't know what that is, whether it's like something to do with cooking or recipes, or like if you're having a problem with your teenage daughter, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
use these tools. You even mentioned, if it's okay for us to talk about, but you even mentioned using, was it Perplexity to research some family things, some genealogy, or maybe it was
Yes,
a different. So
I did.
use these tools maybe in your personal life first. If you're kind of nervous to bring it into your professional career or into your business, get comfortable with it personally. See what it
Absolutely.
can do for you. And then once you're like, oh my gosh, this is so simple. And I need to take my own advice, by the way.
You're getting there at your own pace, right? Like
I
every
am. Yeah,
month you learn something new and you're telling me about it. So it's been cool to kind of see from the get go where you're like, I'm not a techie. You know, when we met last year, you're like, my husband does this. I don't even have a chat
right.
GPT.
I didn't. And then like he came home one day and I was doing something. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, learning how to prompt. And he's like, oh, this is the best.
I'm gonna marry you again.
And now we have these conversations about like our conversations with ChatGPT,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
Or if he's like he'll be like playing, he was doing some stuff on like Playground, or if it's Playground AI or whatever it is. And
Yeah.
then he was telling me like, oh, we could do this, and you could do this for your job. We could do this for the girl, whatever it is. And it's like, A, I know what he's talking about now.
Mm-hmm.
And B, I see the potential, which is really, really cool. And C, I have enough knowledge that I know when are overusing it, or I know, and I think that's part of it. It's all about knowledge, and it's all about empowering yourself. If you don't know about it and you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what it can do, then these emotions that we talked about, the fear and the hesitancy and the like, oh my gosh, the trepidation, like those are just going to continue.
Yeah.
So you gotta move past that. So I guess the question, so Jenna, maybe, and this might even be a different talk. Maybe we don't go into this today, but what happens? Like, what do people who don't want to embrace AI, like, what will business look like for them? And also, will it change things, and how will it change? I mean, that's a big,
There's two things
conversation.
to that. Number one is you're using AI, whether you know it or not,
Yeah,
right? Like you're not using AI. There is not a person on this planet that is not using AI. Like you might not be going and prompting in a conversation, but if you have a cell phone, you're using AI somehow baked into your apps.
right.
You
Yep.
can't not, unless if you use a flip phone from early 2000s. Perfect. 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 If they've got old phones, that's fine. Like that's literally the only way that you're going to be able to say, I do not use AI. And this has been a conversation that I've seen on social media since, I started doing this in 2023. And it's like, well, I have no intention of using AI. And it's like, that's great, but like it's not going to happen. Like
Right.
you have no choice because developers bake it into programs. And if you want to run your business on not using AI and make it your thing, like it has to be your thing, right? Because if you say, I'm not using AI, then you better throw away your cell phone, throw away your computer, don't use any of these apps. You better go back to hand drafting and putting freaking mood boards on your wall to do presentations and then
Right.
invite people to come see them because no video either, like because that's all AI,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like transcripts, that's AI. Like that's how we get those things to repurpose and summarize. Like if you want to go that route, more power to you, and I see it, like I get it, but it's not realistic and it's not practical or sustainable. So if you are maybe a seasoned designer and you really are against this, you better have a really good Rolodex, like sitting on your desk because you can't use your phone, right? So you better have a good Rolodex of
Mhm.
clients that can call you or send you a fax through your freaking computer or however you're doing that because you don't have a computer anymore. Like there's no way around it unless if you go back to the 80s. Like it is what it is. You can't say I don't use AI unless if you do those things. So if you want to really create and curate an experience that is not AI and like run that way, you will set yourself apart. But how are you going to communicate that to anybody on the internet? You can't if you said that.
I love what you said a little while ago when you were telling me like you can do this at your own pace. And so for you, Jenna, like when you're talking to interior designers or professionals in whatever setting, just letting them know, like they do not have to go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, right? They can still do, if people want to do the tangible mood boards because they love that, great. That's awesome. And then figure out, where do you want AI in your business?
Mhm.
It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be everything.
Yes.
I am not an interior designer, but I love the texture. I love fabric
Oh, me
swatches.
too.
Like, I just sit there like I want to touch them.
Yep. Yep.
I would not want that taken away from me.
No, like we need those. But where I was going with the other thing is like, when we used to pin stuff up on boards
Yes,
on our wall and have clients come over and like there was no digital storage of that
right,
information. It was
right.
like print it out, get the spec sheet,
100%.
build a binder, right? So I love flat lays. I love, material selection boards too. And you need them. You need the
Yes.
tangible. But there's this certain point where like we can also do this digitally. So if you don't enjoy going and getting all the samples and then returning all the samples and doing all of those things, there's another option.
Absolutely. 100%. And that's so, yeah, to your point, like you don't have to choose. You don't have to say, I only can do it this way.
Mhm.
As a writer, so like that's something that's more just because I'm not a designer, as a writer and an event planner, I still love my sticky notes, and I still and sometimes, like, and I carry, like, I'll have I have this leather bound notebook, and sometimes I just write things down in my bag, and I love that. It's a security thing for me too. But
Mhm.
that's going to end up going, and I also love to, this is gonna kill trees and people are just gonna like, but I love to sometimes print out emails and then, like, kind of put them, I need to organize them and say, this is I'm gonna put this over here and this, whatever works for that creative brain, right?
And we're all different. Like we can't just say there's one set way to use AI. And
No.
that's what I teach in every single session. I'm like,
Yes.
what do you use now? How can we consolidate? Because you probably don't even realize a lot of your day-to-day tools can do what a lot of these other programs can also do. So I'm currently in like consolidation mode and then teaching other firms and designers how to do it too. But it's like, how can we simplify our lives? Because yes, there's new technology every single day. There's new programs, new apps, new advancements. And designers are like, oh, I feel like I'm so behind because I'm not staying up with all of these programs. And it's like, do you need them? Like, I doubt that you even need all of these shiny new things because is what you're doing now working for you and do you enjoy it? If it is and it does, then put your blinders on and stop looking at all the other technology because that next shiny thing might be obsolete in 3 months when they do an update to something that you use every day, like ChatGPT, for instance.
It is I agree. It's counterproductive to what the end result could be.
Yes.
And as we live in a very noisy, disruptive, chaotic world, with our personal lives and our professional lives and everything in between, then I think that the desire and the ability to become more simplistic in and being able to enjoy the things that matter. And
Mhm.
that includes our job. Like, I think that for a lot of people, they always talk about, okay, the things that matter, family, faith, whatever, which
Mhm.
100% those should be at the top. And then the other things, and that sometimes, like, work is like, well, you don't want that to creep into this. Agreed. However, if you're passionate about what you do, then it's not a have to, it's a want to.
Mhm.
And then that automatically, when it becomes a want to, then it goes up there at the top with the things that are important to you. And then you should make that simple as well, because who wants their passion to stress them out? Who wants their
Mhm.
passion to like weigh them down? Then, that's
Yeah.
frustrating.
It is. It is. It's funny because that is me. Like I turned my passion into my career, you know?
Same. Yep.
Yep. And I honestly love it, but my husband goes out and if he's listening in the other room, he'll hear me. But if there's he does triathlons and he just started doing jujitsu and he does all of these things and I'm like, my happy place is in Canva. Like I just want to go create something beautiful or I
Yes.
want to rearrange my house on the weekends because that recenters me and that's my hobby. Yes, it's my job too, but like there's a reason why I do what I do, and I'm very happy with my day to day. It's because I truly enjoy it. And the pieces that I don't enjoy doing, those are the ones that I bring AI into. Writing email funnels
Yes.
and, the silly, like the scheduling things. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to
Right.
go mess around with my living room and rearrange the furniture. That's where I'd rather be.
We're very, very similar. And that is something that I think that everybody has to understand. What works for one person doesn't work for someone else. My husband has a very different way of relaxing, which is pretty much to just shut everything down and he just wants to be in a hammock with
Mhm.
a drink in his hand. Like that's where he's like, and for him, he's like, if you're not doing that, then you're not relaxing.
Mhm.
The idea of laying in a hammock with a drink for more than about 4 minutes makes me so anxious.
I'd have to have 5 drinks in order to be able to
I
do
know,
that.
well, yes, you're not wrong. But that's because I have energy and I have all these
Yes.
ideas and I need to, like you said, I need
Yeah.
to create. I want to go redecorate a room. I'm not going to even use the word design because I don't have the talent that our viewers have. But I want to go redecorate something, or I want to, yeah, I want to read, I want to write, I want to, whatever it is. That is, and so I think it's the same thing with AI. It really does come back to find what works for you, find what makes your life easier and more manageable.
And don't sacrifice the parts that you love. Like, that is not
No,
what you should be replacing. Those are the things that you are working towards getting more time to do. So take those
correct.
off the table when you're looking at AI tools. That's not what these are
Yes.
for.
Yes. Do your creative self however you want to, and just let AI do the stuff you don't want to do, and let
Exactly.
AI also help you convert the creativity you've done into a digital manner so that you can share it in a bigger and faster way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we could just end it there because
I love
point
it.
made. But I do think before we go, we need to talk about what we're about to release together on the AI for Interior Designers website. And that is the new AI community convos. And so basically, it's kind of a new blog that, well, it's not a blog, it's an AI community convos, is what it's going to be called on the website. But Julia and I have been collaborating. And basically, when I do podcasts or have specific topics that I write about or contribute to different pieces, Julia brings in her perspective as somebody that is not tech oriented. Everything that we just talked about today for your perspective. So it's basically a recap of like forums and conversations that I have had or have been had in our community. And then Julia will compile those to make them cohesive and bring in her perspective, which I think a lot more people can probably relate to than my perspective being in this industry, and doing this every single day for 2 years now. So it
Mhm.
helps people in a Q&A format, which is AI optimized for SEO, for AI search engines, by the way. It's a whole other thing. So
Full circle.
basically, yeah, you have been writing these new posts. Is there anything you want to share on this new release?
Excited because I see this as a journey.
Mhm.
And I am going to be excited to see like how my insight and perspective is going to look maybe like at 6 months or a year if we
Mhm.
continue, to do these than it does now. And I hope it looks different. I mean, that's kind of the whole point of this is that yes, right now I consider myself a very tech illiterate, but I'm getting there. I think
I wouldn't say you are.
I was going to say, I don't give myself credit. I have a system. That
Mhm.
system is if I don't like, let people know that I can do it, then I don't
Huh?
have to.
Yep.
I think we all do that with something. We all do that with something in our
Yep.
life.
Yep.
The technology is mine where I'm just like, oh, I don't think I can handle that.
Well, they're gonna know now. So
I know, it's giving me all of my secrets. I'm really excited about this journey and like how we're going to just continue to learn. And I think you're right. The whole point of this was that so you are a very relevant person, Jenna. Like I think people are drawn to you. I think that your very casual yet professional approach is great. But people do go, well, you're immersed in this. Like you have made this, like you're studying it, you're researching it, you're doing it, you have relationships. Like I was asking you, when you were like, you had something that you were working on with, I don't know if I can say it. So I'll just say that you were working on something. I'm like, how do you know this? Like before anyone else, like, how do you know this stuff? And it's because you're creating these relationships with companies and people are like, oh my gosh, like you're so good at this. And maybe they don't even want to ask the questions because they're like, I don't want her to think that I don't know anything. So I'm hoping that by like bringing me into this too, people will see that you are the standard where we want to be and they're starting where I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do we grow together? And how do we educate ourselves? And how do we better ourselves and better our businesses? So that's what I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah. And I love that because I recognize that like I am so in it that like, I try and go way back to the beginning and find the beginning. But
Mhm.
because it's hard for me. So when we were talking about like, how can we work together? What tasks can you help me with? And, of course, writing is one that I wanted you to help me with. So you were like, well, I'm just going to write some blogs and let's maybe format them in this way with the Q&As, and I'll look at the posts and I'll look at the transcripts and I'll take that information. But then I was like, this has to be its own category on the website because eventually we want to hear from not just me, but like voices in our community too. So extract conversations that are had in the training videos or in the live workshops or the upcoming AI day in the fall at Pfizer. Those types of things. Everything's recorded. So why not put it into a easy to follow breakdown Q&A format where you can just go and say, what's Julia's perspective? What's Jenna's perspective? And just like micro dose your education for AI, little bits at a time.
I also think that this is such a really cool, just to kind of like, again, bring it full circle again. This conversation, this dialogue, and the projects that you and I are working are yet another example of how we need the human interaction. We need the human connection. We also need the human perspective on how to digest this, on how to integrate this in our lives. Because guess what? We could just go to ChatGPT and say, I am afraid of AI. What should I do? You could do that, but I'm sorry, like I'm not going to get as much from a really quick, whatever like a quick transcript or whatever, where I am going to learn so much more from. And I'm so excited about this forum or whatever. I know that we're calling it are we releasing that yet?
So internally it's called the forum. I'm actually releasing it. I will link it in this post today. So you can go check it out. We will have, 4 or 5, I got to double check, posts up that you can go and read. Very relevant. Julia's looking at topics to extract from the many trainings and conversations and podcast episodes that all kind of fit one topic cohesively. So it's like different perspectives on that topic, but like make it all make sense so that you can walk away with, a deeper understanding from human perspectives, not general AI stuff. Like these are literally written by you, not AI, like my recaps of this episode.
But I do, and then like what we talked about too, of course I use AI to, because there's a lot of information and sometimes it helps me organize. And then I go back and I make it personal. And, sometimes it leaves things out or I need to add something or whatever. So yeah, all of this makes sense when you just really sit down and think about it. It really does.
Yep. And AI is going to be, especially ChatGPT, your biggest hype girl. Like it's going to say, yeah, do that, do this, like that's a great idea. Is it? No, not always. Like they're not always great, but you have to remember that AI is a mirror of society. It is a mirror reflection of what you have told it and what it has been trained on, which is literally just human interaction and knowledge that it has been programmed on. So there's no new concepts that are really coming out. These are just regurgitated concepts. And the more people ask questions, if they've opted into training these models, the better and stronger they get. But there's still, like, it's not as smart as humans. It will be soon. It will be soon. So watch out for that.
But there's always, thank goodness, there's always EQ, right? Where there's always EQ.
Yeah, exactly. And like, we're here in the 3-dimensional space. And AI is not, I don't think. God, I don't know.
We haven't gotten to that lesson yet, Jenna.
Yeah, I know. That might be, they're working on it. They're trying to make it come here with those robots. But anyway, we're going to end before the robots take over. We're going to end this episode. So Julia, thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Of course. I will link your information for the lifestylehistorian.com, right?
Thank you.
So, thank you for being here.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and tune in next week for more AI tips for your design business. See you next time.